Welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest is Nick Hardwick. You know, I've got a good bio on Nick, and I don't even know if I want to say it all because I think that this is going to be probably the best part of the show is just learning more about you. But you were a pro football player for about 11 years.
Yep.
You were a kick-ass pro football player. You were, I think it was like 146 games in a row.
146 career starts.
146 career starts.
136 regular season, 10 postseason, which at one point was the Chargers all-time leader. Phillip Rivers passed me up, which if there's anybody to be passed by. Good to be passed by one of your best friends.
Yes. And you're married. You have two beautiful children, two boys.
Yeah, 10 and 8, going to be in 5th and 3rd grade here this year. Crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
And my wife's awesome, Jayme.
And you moved from San Diego back to Indiana.
Yeah. So originally from Indianapolis, went out to San Diego, played ball for 11 years there, stuck around after my career and was in broadcasting. So I did 5 years. I had my own morning radio show from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sports talk radio. I did the morning news.
So you're good on the radio.
I'm okay. I'm okay. You know, I'm okay on the radio. I did the morning news. So I did the sports at Fox 5 San Diego, which was super fun. Really good experience. I hosted a TV show for the Chargers when they were still in San Diego. And
that was a big deal when they left San Diego.
Huge deal.
Huge deal.
It was a huge deal. And I was actually the face from players or former players of the franchise leaving because I was the one that was out helping campaign. I was at the pep rallies. At my retirement press conference, which we can get into this, but how many people get a retirement press conference? Not many.
Right.
And I got one with my team at the retirement press conference. I made it known. I said, my next mission is to help get a stadium built here in San Diego. So I became the face of that. And I never thought in a million years they would ever leave. And they left. And I was pissed. And I was on morning radio.
People were burning jerseys.
People were so mad.
So mad.
Oh my God. I was on morning radio when it happened. It was about 7 a.m. and they put out an Instagram post and a Twitter post that was the same image. It was like, thank you, San Diego, for your 56 wonderful years. And I was like shocked. Nobody had kept me in the loop down the last stretch. Like the last month. And they just all of a sudden it was announced through Twitter and Instagram that this had happened. Our producer basically stopped the show and was like, breaking news. And you know, they do the right. I was like, what is this? Normally it's something goofy, but it was like the Chargers are relocating to Los Angeles. And I was like, this is a joke.
Because my wife and I had a boat in San Diego, so we would stay in Harbor Island. That's where our boat was at. Sun Road Resort Marina. Awesome place. But so obviously we were there when that happened. And I was like, oh, I feel like this is a big deal. People are going to be upset. And man, it was wildfire.
Huge. Oh my God. It was life-changing for me, for my family, for a lot of former teammates, for a lot of people in the organization. But then you think about the entire city. I mean, some of those people had been with the organization since they came to San Diego in 1961. I remember going to the game with my grandpa in Balboa Park and sitting there where there were $5 tickets and you got to bring your own beer, you know, that kind of story and those kind of memories wrapped up in that. Well, I was trying to help get a stadium built in San Diego and then they kind of left me out of the loop for the last month. And then they announced it while I was on air and while the Fox 5 news cameras were in filming portions of our show. And I popped off on them. And I was like, this is not how you treat a fan base who's paid for 56 years in this community and has built
diehard fans,
has built your family's wealth from what was, I think they bought it for like $260 something million up to now they're worth $3 billion, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is not how you do this. I understand if you're going to leave and you have to leave, you feel like you can't get a stadium built here and the organization needs to continue to grow and has to have a space to do that. I understand that. However, you do have to stand up at some point in front of microphones and a camera and face the people that you're leaving.
You have to.
And invite them with you. And they never really did that. So I ended up being the guy that, well, first off, I was pissed that they left.
Yes.
And then I was so I'm never going with them. And I was the color analyst, right? So I'm like breathing fire on them. Well, I get a call at one point, probably 3 months into this whole deal from somebody who had some information. I'm not even going to say who it was at the time, but had some information that the baseball team, the Padres, they actually wanted the Chargers to leave. And when I looked back, there was never a comment from the Padres about helping to keep the San Diego Chargers in San Diego.
Right.
And it turns out years later, what ended up happening was the Padres wanted the land that the Chargers were going to build their stadium on downtown. They put a bid in, an official bid for a high rise with retail underneath and residential up top. And so they were going to develop that and make hundreds of millions of dollars on the tailgate lot that they have their baseball tailgates in. And that was going to be the Chargers stadium. The hoteliers didn't want them in there because of the convention space that they were going to have under a canopy, kind of like they have up in LA now at SoFi. It was going to be open air but covered. So they're going to have 400,000 square feet of convention space. So the hoteliers were completely against them. 2 weeks after they left town, the mayor announced that he was bringing the MLS to San Diego, which ended up falling through. So all of these forces were completely against the Chargers.
Right.
And I ended up joining back with them after I learned a little bit more information. And I got so much heat. It was probably a year. I still like randomly on my Instagram post, or like I've got I got a lead page for my Train Like a Lineman program.
Right.
I still get people who will put their name in there as Dean Spanos, who's the owner of the Chargers. And then in their comments of why they want to work with me so I can give them a call back, it's like, F you, you sell out. I'm like, dude, we are in 2022.
Because you retired, what, in 2015?
2014, or February 2015. It was after the 2014 season. So I'm like, you're holding this against me 6 years later? You sell out, you lied to us. I'm like, oh my God, I was the one that was trying to get the stadium built.
Oh, that's crazy.
Anyhow.
Yeah, and
people are crazy.
Yeah, we jumped ahead real quick there, and I love it. So I learned something today about you that I did not know, but I want you to share it. So I'm gonna lead you into this one. So you're a little kid, right?
Uh-huh.
And your dream is to be a professional football player. So you're in, like, what is it, Pop Warner, and then you go into high school and you're the captain of the football team, or like. How walk me through this story.
All right. So
clearly I'm BSing right now. That's not what happened.
That's not what happened at all. No, I was a really active physical kid.
Right.
And I played football from 3rd grade up until 9th grade, actually, but I never got in during my 9th grade season here in Indianapolis, Lawrence North High School.
Little shout out to Lawrence.
Yeah. Go Wildcats. I never got in to the game. And it was because I was 5'4", 135 pounds, and I just hadn't hit puberty. I had not developed at all yet.
Right.
And looking back, I kind of think the coaches, and I understand what they're doing because I'm coaching high school ball now. It's like football first aid, don't put a kid in a position that's going to get him hurt because you're going to get in trouble after the kid gets hurt if he's not capable of doing it. So I was 5'4", 135. So no high school football after that. I just figured I'm going to be small. I'm not going to grow. I need to find a sport that is more suitable for
was wrestling.
Wrestling.
Right.
Yeah. And it just so happened at Lawrence North, we had a Hall of Fame wrestling coach. His name was Royce Deckard, and he's still coaching. I mean, Royce has got to be in his 70s now because he was in his 50s when he was coaching us. So he's still coaching. He's at Bloomington South High School now. But I fell in love with the sport. I fell in love with him as a guy, as a leader. When you're a
mentor,
when you're a 15-year-old boy,
yeah.
you start pushing away from your dad. It's like the lion cub getting away and going to find his own territory. It's kind of like that. I was done listening to my dad. Royce became that guy that I emulated and I looked up to, and I took his word as gospel. And so it just so happened that he was an unbelievable coach. He helped my wrestling career, spurted along, got tons of growth really quick. So my sophomore year, his first year on varsity, I was 19-20. So I had a losing record. I had a nervous breakdown in the middle of the season. I was cutting weight all wrong. Then I ended up as a junior, in between my sophomore and junior year, I finally hit puberty. So I finally had hair under my armpits as a junior in high school.
Right.
That it grew. I went from like 5'6", 145 to 6'2", 171 pounds.
Ooh, some growing pains.
No growing pains.
Oh, really?
I never had any pain. That's
amazing.
Never any growing pains. I just kept growing and eating and growing and eating. I got up to like 200 pounds and I cut down to 171. I went 48-2 that year. I got upset actually in the first round of the state championships. And then the next year I came back and I went 48-2 and lost in the finals. I got state runner up. And so I ended up 48-3 that year.
Okay.
And that's
your junior year or senior year?
That was my senior year.
Okay.
And then I was done wrestling. I knew some wrestlers who wrestled in college. And for me, it was just, I had cut 48 pounds my senior year. So I went from 218 down to 171.
Okay.
So I cut 48 pounds. It took me about 6 months to get there. And I was burnt out on the sport, the discipline, on restrictive eating.
So you got a scholarship to go to Purdue?
I actually had an offer to go to Rutgers to wrestle, but I'd never been to New Jersey.
Okay.
And so I just decided, I was like, I'll go with my buddy up to Purdue.
Okay.
And kind of last minute, I walked onto the ROTC program there. So I was in Navy ROTC, and I figured I'll be a Navy pilot because Top Gun era kid, you know. And I was like, what's cool? I had a cousin, my dad's cousin actually flew F-16s in the Air Force. And he was the one in our family that everybody revered and talked about. It's like, oh, cool, cousin Joey's coming back. It's like, yeah, Joey flies F-16s.
Right.
Can't wait to talk to him, right? So I was like, who's the most successful person in my family? Joey. I'll go be Joey.
Right.
But I'm going to do it for the Navy.
Yeah.
Because of Top Gun, probably that influence, right? So that's what direction I ended up heading. And I ended up earning a scholarship in my second semester in ROTC through the Navy.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about big time football. Like I had never been to a game with 70,000 people and the crowd's going crazy, and you know, people are burning couches after the game, and like there's riots, you know, in the street. Well, it was that.
Justin's face.
Yeah, it was that way at Purdue because Drew Brees was the quarterback in 2000, and they ended up going to the Rose Bowl for the first time since 1967. They won the Big Ten championship for the first time since '67, and I was in the stands as a student in ROTC, going crazy, loving it. I followed him out to the Rose Bowl. Well, somewhere in that season, one of my friends from ROTC, Frank Avino from the south side of Chicago, he's like,
what's his name?
Frank Avino. He's like, hey, what's it called? Frankie, you know, like, you know, real staunch Italians always smell like Italian sausage. Like I've had a couple of guys that are just like Frank Avino. Shane Olivier played with him in the league. He's like, same way, what's it called? You know, what am I talking about? You know, that kind of thing. And Frankie came to us with a student newspaper because we didn't have cell phones, right? It wasn't, not everybody had them yet. And we certainly
by the way, this isn't 50 years ago, people. This is not that long ago.
No, it's 2000. It was 20. I guess it was 22 years ago. God, I know. So like in our heads, we don't feel old, but you know, hopefully no young kids are listening to this, but no phones, right? No information on there. Student newspaper, classified ads, walk-on tryouts. Call Blaine Bennett, who was the quarterback coach at the time.
Right.
And he'll give you the details. So Frank did all the calls and everything because I'm not a detail guy. Right. I just like show up and perform like an athlete, right? Like that's kind of been my mode is like show up, perform, tell me what to do, tell me when to be, tell me how to be, and I'll do it. I'll nail it, you know, and I'll do all the hard work. But I don't need all the details. Just like tell me what to do. So Frank got all the details down. We show up the night before walk-on tryouts, and there was a room, the team meeting room. It ended up being, there was 105 boys that were trying out for this Purdue football team because we had just went to the Rose Bowl. So of course,
how many people will they take?
Well, they ended up taking 5. They ended up taking 5 of us. The list goes out on Friday of who they're going to take, and on Monday morning at 6 a.m. you have your first workout. So they start 6 weeks of 6 a.m. workouts, and it's 4 2-5 practices per week, and they're supposed to go from 6 to 7:30. You usually went from about 6 o'clock till about 8 o'clock, and your first class started at 7:30. So you know what the priority was. Right. And they had just lost a bunch of seniors to the draft, all their leadership. Drew Brees was gone. And so Joe Tiller, the head coach at the time, he wanted to beat us. He wanted to turn us into a team with some gumption, you know? And so it was a total beatdown session. So 3 guys quit within about a week or 2. Okay. And then it was me and Jimmy Guidos who ended up making it, who was a walk-on receiver from South Bend, Penn. And he was a skinny little dude with huge collarbones. And they ended up, I mean, this is stuff that you'd probably get in trouble for as a coaching staff now, but they would put him back on either punt or kickoff return and have no blocking unit in front of him, and we would cover the kick. And he would be live. They would tackle him. And so Jimmy broke his collarbone. He's like, I'll get this thing fixed up. I'll be back in 6 weeks. Back in 6 weeks, fixed up, same drill, broke the other collarbone. Jimmy said, I'm out of here. Yeah. So then it just been, It ended up being me. And I honestly, I don't know why they picked me to be on the team. Like I didn't have any real experience, but they couldn't go dig and look up any stats because we didn't have that then, right? It was like all kind of word of mouth.
Yeah.
I had told.
And how big are you at this time?
I was the exact size I am now. So I ended up, by the time I walked on, I showed up to Purdue at 195. By the time I walked on, I was 230 pounds. And that's about what I am now. So that's what I melted to after I got done playing pro ball.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit too.
Yeah. So I was 230. I had a high and tight because I was in the Marine Corps. I wore my ROTC PT gear, right? Yeah. So I had my physical training gear. It was like real tight. Yeah. I had those real small shorts on. And that's the only thing that I can figure.
Silkies.
Yeah, that's the only reason I can figure they took me, because I looked different than everybody else. I stood out. I was like, who's the kid with the high and tight and the short shorts? Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's willing to go kill himself as a Marine, you know, or get killed, you know, whatever, he's probably willing to be a really good blocking dummy. So let's use him. So I started out with the linebackers in 6 a.m.s. The very first practice, the defensive coordinator come to me. His name was Brock Spack, and he said, "Son, who told you were a linebacker?" I said, "Coach, nobody told me anything. All I know was I was running with the linebackers during 6 a.m.s. I figured that's where I was." He goes, "Come with me." And he grabbed me by the arm, and I was like, thank God those dudes were fast and I couldn't keep up. There's no way. I wasn't a linebacker. I just couldn't run that fast. So he grabbed me by the elbow. He walked me down the hall, and I was like, oh, cool. Going to go be a defensive end. Cause I was 230. You're still close to that size. Like I probably needed to put on 15, 20 pounds.
Okay.
He walked me past that door and he shoved me in the defensive tackle room. And he's like, "This is your new room. These are your best friends." And I looked around, and these guys were 290 to 330 pounds monsters. And I'm 100 pounds less than the biggest one. I sat down and I was like, oh no, it just felt like I had been thrown in a prison cell and I was being looked at like a piece of meat. And I just looked at the dude next to me, who happened to be Matt Mitrione, who is an MMA fighter. He's still fighting for Bellator, crazy sucker. Oh, wow. Yeah, he's crazy. I mean, he fought UFC. He was in the Tough Show that they have, the UFC Tough Show. Yeah. And I sat down next to him and I was like, dude, how'd you get so big? And he I had no idea.
He's like, I eat a lot.
I had no idea. He goes, on top of everything else you eat every day, normally, put 2 Jimmy John gargantuan subs on top of there. And they're like 2,000 calories a piece. I did it. I did that. And I added 2 pounds of ground beef a day. And I had 2 700 calorie shakes every day. I would wake up at 2 a.m. I'd set my alarm for 2 a.m. I'd have, I don't know if you remember when EAS Myoplex was the jam, right? Like everyone was.
Bill Phillips.
Yeah. Everyone was drinking that. So I would make one before I went to bed. It was 700 calories. I put it on my nightstand. I'd set my alarm for 2 a.m. and I'd wake up and chug it. I'd go take a pee, come back to bed, wake up at 5:30, get to practice, and do that all over again. And it was
so how many calories were you taking in, like roughly?
I mean, I'm guessing probably 8,000 calories
a day.
And I ended up gaining 50 pounds in about 6 months. And I ended up also developing an ulcer. From here's a couple things that I didn't know. You can't be throwing all that bacteria in your gut. From the ground beef, it was probably undercooked. From my roommates ended up really enjoying cooking it. So they would throw in like a stick of butter. Here's half a jar of peanut butter, like whatever I can do to fatten this thing up, they were going to do it. And so that, and then I didn't realize that I shouldn't be taking probably 12 ibuprofen a day, because I had never hurt like that before. Right. I had never lifted weights like that. I had never run like that before. And I was in like a full throttle weight training program. I was getting my butt kicked on the field, just getting ragdolled. And I was just popping ibuprofen and eating ground beef like crazy. And I developed an ulcer. So I ended up like losing 30 or 40 of the pounds and having to eat that back on. I thought when I lost all that weight, I was like, I don't know if I can do it again, but just recommit and get going. And so I started off as a defensive tackle. I'd never played actually in a game. And then they moved me to guard so I spent like 18 months probably at defensive tackle. And by the time that I was getting good enough, I was either going to be the number 2 defensive tackle or number 3. So I was going to get formidable playing time.
And now you're a sophomore, or
I'm a junior at this point.
You're a junior.
They knocked on my.
So you're a junior and you haven't had any real playing time yet.
None.
Okay.
Actually, I would have been. I was going into my senior year, so I went through my junior year, no playing time.
Okay.
I was going into my 4th year at school, which is easier for me to keep track of that way.
That's
it's
fine.
Like my 4th year, it's easier. They knocked on my door and they said, "Hey, tomorrow you're moving to left guard. And I was like, no. Look, hold on. No,
I've already moved rooms.
I was like, we're not doing that. I'm not really good with this. I said, I was sitting up in the stands watching the games, and all I really wanted to do was wear the uniform. And then it was like, maybe I'll get on the wedge, like the kickoff return wedge, and maybe you could use my body somewhere. And then I was defensive tackle, and I was like, but I'm going to get playing time, coach. That's still like, do you understand? I've worked so hard to get some playing time. And he goes, you're actually starting tomorrow at left guard. And I said, oh, okay, cool.
And what's left guard do again?
I was like, that's great. I don't know what to do. And he said, well, you've got a center who's a senior, and you got a center left tackle, and they'll tell you what to do on every play. And that's all you have to do. Just listen to them.
Okay.
And
that sounds easy.
It sounds great. Yeah. Okay. So I'm starting, right?
Thanks, coach.
Yeah. So I go out, and the hardest thing, people have no idea. They will never be able to conceptualize how difficult it is to pass protect in football. So you see a pass happening, and you probably look at like two fat guys rubbing bellies together. It's so wildly technical and intricate. It's the hardest thing to do from one skill on the football field, period. Like that's it. It's the single hardest thing to do, is to stop a man who is charging at you, and you don't get to go at him, and you have to stay put, and you have to stay in an upright position. And just
like sumo wrestling.
It is a 100% sumo wrestling. I still wonder why nobody's tapped into that market from an offensive lineman standpoint. It's like, go get yourself a sumo wrestler and you'll have an all pro guy. It's like, look at these guys. That's all they do is pass protect. So the first day that I was starting at left guard, I thought, because I had been part of that drill on the other side of one-on-one pass protection, and I had seen the defensive line just roast offensive linemen for about a year and a half.
Daily.
Every single day. And even the best guys got roasted.
Right.
And there I was. It was my turn to go. And I was lined up across from a guy named Damian Greer. He was a 330-pound, 675-pound squatting man from Connecticut.
Beast.
And I thought,
a monster.
Lord, who gave me this animal? Right. And I don't even know what happened. It's like people call them now hinge moments, or I've heard them described as like your 8-mile moment.
Right.
I really don't even know what happened. I didn't even think it was a moment, to be honest. Like, well, you need to realize when you're having your moment. I didn't realize anything that was going on in my life at the time. So I'm just out there, said hut, boom, stoned the guy at the line of scrimmage. And I thought, holy crap, I'm on to it. My offensive linemen erupted. My former buddies as defensive line, they erupted. They're like, let's go. And it's like, okay, I can do this. Yeah. And that was the one moment that I was like, I can be good at this. I played a year at guard. They moved me to center for the bowl game that year because our center tore his ACL in the last regular season game. And I ended up playing an All-American. His name's Tank Johnson. He got drafted 3rd round by the Bears. He had a troubled NFL career, a lot of guns and drugs, and ended up getting in trouble. But he was an All-American in college, and that was my first game at center, and I played lights out. And I thought right then, I was like, I'm going to be a professional football player. I'm going to be a center. And a year later, got drafted with the 3rd pick of the 3rd round, 2004 draft to the San Diego Chargers, and played 11 years out there. Got to serve as the captain for 5 years.
Yeah, you were the captain for 5 years. That's
5 years.
Crazy.
Yeah, which was amazing. I mean,
I wonder if there's anyone in the NFL that was a captain for longer than you that did not play high school football.
That would be one of the most obscure stats ever, right?
It's a stat.
You know what though? My story's really cool. I have found so many guys have incredibly unique stories that are just as cool and just as powerful in their own right. Everyone that's at that level has overcome crazy amounts of obstacles.
But they're not on my Everyday GSD podcast.
That's exactly right. I found out, crazy things like I had teammates who were homeless as a child. Their house burnt down. They're living in a homeless shelter. They're having to fight off 40-year-old men who are trying to steal their shoes. Right. Teammates that were living in cars or whose house got ripped away in Katrina, and then they moved to Houston, then they moved to a trailer in Alabama, and then it's like
hardship.
Real hardship, right? Real hardship. So my story's cool.
Yeah. But it's very cool though.
It's super. It's super cool. I mean, I used to joke around in college because when I was first to walk on a defensive tackle, the offensive line hated me because I went hard every day.
Right.
I just didn't care, and I didn't really know any difference. And that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And that's what the coaches told me to do. So that's what I did, and screw off.
Yeah.
Well, they would get mad at me and call me Rudy. And eventually I hated Rudy, but Rudy was an inspiration for me. Like that movie was just incredible.
The movie Rudy.
I mean, you go watch that. Yeah. It's awesome. I don't think it's all true. It's awesome, but that was my inspiration. But in college, I ended up saying, F Rudy, he sucked. Yeah. I was like, Rudy sucked. Don't call me Rudy because I'm starting now. I'm good. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not Rudy.
I'm not Rudy. Screw off. They're like, oh, you're like Rudy. You're a walk-on. I was like, no, Rudy sucked. I'm good.
So you get out to California, and had you ever been to San Diego before?
No, I had been to LA to watch, to Pasadena actually, to watch the Boilermakers play the Washington Huskies in the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
And that was it. I actually didn't even know San Diego was a place. And for real, I had no idea. I didn't follow anything. I've never been a big TV watcher. The only football I ever really watched was Monday Night Football, especially coming through college. I just didn't know what was out there. And so like my first interview, I love Drew. I didn't even really know he went to the Chargers. Like that wasn't even on my radar. I didn't read the news. I didn't watch the news. I didn't know. Like it just wasn't on my radar.
Right.
And one of my first interviews, I was like kind of embarrassed. I was like, crap, you got to get your stuff together. They're like, how do you feel now that you're going to get a block for Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson? And I had no idea who LaDainian Tomlinson was. Like, what are you talking? Like, and of course in my head, like in the interview, I was like, oh, it's just going to be such an honor, to block for those two guys, right? But in my head, I'm like, who's LT? Who are they talking about? I had no idea. I didn't even know where San Diego was.
Right.
Yeah, and then you show up, and it's a pretty magical place.
It is magical. Where'd you live in San Diego?
We lived in Point Loma.
Oh, well, yeah, Point Loma. It's awesome.
Yeah, so
there's a great fish market there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love
it. The whole thing, like even easy access to Ocean Beach, down the point is super cool. And it's probably even way more developed than it ever was. Shelter Island's all blown up now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause my boat was on Harbor Island.
Yes.
Right next door to Shelter Island.
And we had a strength coach who was one of my best friends on the team, Dave Redding, who had a boat at Harbor Island.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the marina right by the boathouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Right down the way from there.
Sea Level's restaurant and
Sea Level.
Tom Ham's on the other side.
I got married at Tom Ham's.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right on the pier there.
The best brunch in the city, man.
Yeah, we used to go there all the time. So it's all completely updated now.
Oh yeah.
So have you been since?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was just there in January.
Oh God, you know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You still have a boat there?
No. January got rid of it.
Oh, you did. Yeah. So you sold it in January.
Yeah. But
is that a good day or a bad day?
It's a good day, but you miss it, right?
Yeah.
We had a boat out there. I shared one with my former business partner, but then we had a sailboat, and then we went to a power boat. My wife and I, we had it about 10 years out there.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely love that place.
Yeah.
And it's one of my friends who works at Tom Ham's. We would always go in and see him and for brunch. And brunch became it's like an evening, even though it's in the morning.
It's an event.
Yeah, because, at 2:00 when brunch is over, you're like, you need to go take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, you've had plenty of mimosas.
You've had plenty of mimosas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Your boat was right there.
Yeah.
So you could.
Easy walk. There
you go. Walk some of it off and sleep the rest off and get up and do it again.
So you leave the NFL after an amazing career, 11 years. I want to throw in some conversation about your weight because I know that was some controversy.
God.
Yeah. And so you what do you weigh about when you get out? About two.
When at my retirement press conference, I was 208.
No, what'd you weigh when you left?
When I first retired, 295.
295. So you show up 80 pounds lighter, 85 pounds lighter.
85 pounds lighter.
And then
at my retirement press conference, the lowest I got was 202.
And then the conversation's like, how did this guy get so big?
Yeah.
And so small.
It was Tony Kornheiser on Pardon the Interruption. So huge show.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching with my wife one night. And
by the way, your wife was your college sweetheart.
We met in college. She wasn't my college sweetheart.
Okay.
But
so then she moved out to San Diego with you when you first went out there?
No.
Okay.
So she was still finishing up at Purdue. She was a college soccer player at Purdue.
Right.
Yeah. So she's a beast.
Yeah. She also everyday GSDs.
She's still competing. She is unbelievable. Like she had a soccer game last night at 8:00.
And she plays tennis too.
She plays tennis every day of the week. I mean, she's an animal. She's just so competitive.
Right.
And good for her.
Good for her.
Good for her. I'll
have to have her on the show.
I can't do all that. I would be broken down if I were trying to run around like she is right now. Yeah.
Okay, so you show up at your retirement party. You're in amazing physical condition.
Yes. But it's startling for people, right? When they see you one way for 11 years and then all of a sudden you show up at your press conference and you don't exactly fit in the same clothes. I had to go get a new wardrobe.
Right.
And I even had an official during the season as I was losing weight. So I got put on injured reserve week 1 of my 11th season. It was Monday Night Football. We were in Arizona and I took a bull rush from Calais Campbell. I had neck issues my entire football career. I got a huge neck. It's like not like widthwise, but lengthwise. So I'm probably built to be 6'2", but I have a neck that makes me 6'4".
Okay.
And playing center, you're always snapping with one hand behind your back or one hand in between your crotch.
Yeah.
And so your head becomes your hand. So your neck just takes a beating.
You have a lot of concussions?
Yeah, 6.
6.
Diagnosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 6 diagnosed. So
6 diagnosed. Yeah.
There's a lot more than that.
30,000 head hits.
30,000 head
30,000 head hits in 14 years of football. And that includes the 3 in college.
I can't even wrap my head.
30,
I can't wrap my head around that.
And they're all jabs.
So there's still hits to the head.
Yeah, they're jabs. I mean, like the jab's how you win a fight, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, so everyone's a jab. And here's, people don't factor in when you're practicing as an offensive and a defensive lineman, there's not any way of getting around contact.
Right.
And the further you go up the ladder, now we're in the NFL and now we're a team that's competing for a Super Bowl year in and year out. Well, those practices are really intense and the coaches don't care if you don't have pads on. You got a helmet on. That's all you need, right? You got your hat in your hands and that's all you need. So every practice as an offensive lineman is, hey, let's give LT a real look at this, right? So you got to go. So linebackers and corners and safeties and running backs and tight ends and wide receivers and quarterbacks, they don't take all those hits, but the offensive and defensive linemen, every single play. Right. And being the center, right in the middle of it, you're the tip of the funnel. You know, like you could call it the tip of the spear, but really you're the tip of the funnel because everything funnels to you because you're furthest out front. You usually have the biggest body right in front of you that's trying to be an immovable object. Yeah. And everything funnels to you. So you're always just getting ping-ponged around in there. Right. The idea is to get ping-ponged around less. Yeah. But my neck ended up kind of breaking down on me. My hands started lobster clawing. So I call it lobster clawing. So it's like my ring finger and my pinky finger on both sides started sticking together. I couldn't button my shirts up. I had a lot of nerve damage in my neck.
So is the hands doing that because of the nerve damage?
Because of the neck, yeah. So I had stenosis of the spine, which is spinal column.
Did you have to have a bunch of surgeries?
No surgeries.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, and the neck's not something you can do it. It doesn't respond all that well. Yeah. Like everyone I know who's had a neck surgery has had 4.
Yeah, my brother broke
the first 3 didn't work.
My brother broke his neck playing hockey when he was younger. I think freshman or sophomore in
you have the halo?
School. Yeah, they drilled holes in his head. He was on a bed like this, and they were never supposed to play hockey again, obviously. And my mom was so mad. She found out, and I'm probably gonna butcher this story if my mom ever listens to this. She probably doesn't really know what a podcast is. But,
she's like, how do you listen to it again?
How do I watch that on Facebook? But so he breaks his neck. He goes to the hospital. He has this halo. And then when they release him from the hospital, he's got this thing on with this big strap.
Yes.
And so my neighbor comes to my parents' house and says, hey, we saw your son at the ice rink today. And she was like, no, it's impossible because Darin's here. Obviously, I'm Darin. And the lady said, no, it was your oldest son. And my mom's like, oh, hell no. So
go down to that rink.
So she goes down to the rink, and my brother, he wasn't playing hockey, he was just skating. Just started trying to skate again.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and he ended up playing hockey again. And he went on and
of course he did.
Yeah, went on and played in college, and he's great, was a great hockey player too. But yeah, he's got little scars here, scar on the back of his neck that's probably like this wide, about this long. Wow. And then they took grafted bones from his hip to put in his neck. But yeah, his neck and shoulders are all fucked up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, like Peyton Manning. Yeah. He had to have, I think, 3 or 4 neck surgeries. Yeah. I had a buddy who was a Navy SEAL, they were carrying the rafts around. Yeah. And got an instructor jumping on top of him and landed on top of his head. And
those boats aren't light to begin with.
No. I'm trying to figure out, though, because he was the shortest of everybody that I've ever been
He was probably on the Smurf crew.
He was like, So maybe
they put all the little guys together.
Maybe he was a giant on the Smurf crew.
I've got a couple buddies that were on the Smurf crew. But
hey, the rafts aren't any lighter for the Smurf crew, though. Percentage body weight wise, that's a pretty good load that they're lifting.
we were talking about Jocko earlier before we got on the air, but he's a lot smaller than he appears. He's a big dude.
I would say
he's a big dude, but his height.
Yeah, I was gonna say, be careful.
Yeah.
You don't want to tangle with that gorilla.
Yeah, no. But
you don't want to mess with that gorilla. Yeah, he's not 6'5".
Yeah, exactly.
He's not 6'5".
But when he talks and you listen to him, because we were talking about Extreme Ownership, the book,
yes.
and you had the privilege of seeing him speak, and we couldn't afford him when I tried to get him, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, he speaks like he's 6'5".
Yes. Oh yeah, he's got a lot of authority in his speech, right?
Yeah.
A lot of confidence, a lot of authority.
Yeah.
But his structure is really unique. Like I like looking at body. I'm a body guy. I just like picking apart bodies, and that's from football and from being a wrestler earlier. Is you're always looking for weakness, right?
Right.
Like I'm always looking for your strengths and your weaknesses as I'm analyzing your body. So immediately when I meet you, I got a scan.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, okay, just looking like from a predatorial sense, right? I'm analyzing your body. I want to see where I could take advantage if things got going.
If things get going.
Yeah. So Jocko's like, don't underestimate him.
Yeah.
Because he's a gorilla strong.
Oh yeah.
You know,
he's a beast.
I've got one of my buddies that tried to walk onto the football team with me, David Moore. He ended up becoming a police officer in Indianapolis and actually got shot and killed. So,
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, crazy story. But he was one of the strongest people that I've ever been around. And he looks like Jocko. He sounds like Jocko. And he's gorilla strong.
Right.
But it was the same build. Yeah. It was the exact same build. It's like, you can start to categorize dogs a certain way, right? It's like, I know what that breed can do. I know what that breed can do. It's like Jocko and David Moore were in the same breed of whatever that was. You know, it's like, God, they're hairy arms, huge hands, big, thick wrists.
Yeah. So 30,000 hits to the head.
30,000.
Your fingers are, what did you say?
I call it lobster clawing. Like they just stuck together, right?
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't twist the lid on a water bottle. I couldn't button my shirts. I was dropping pins. I could still snap and block. It hurt. It hurt, man. It hurt. This is just like a lightning rod down your neck.
So how did you fix it?
You don't. You just let it go. So that day went and got an X-ray at the stadium. It was University of Phoenix Stadium at the time. Next day, go to get an MRI in San Diego. And as I come back into the building it would have been Tuesday morning, the head trainer stopped me and he said, Nick, we need to have a very serious conversation when the doctor shows up. And in my head, I said, thank God. Because I had called my wife on the way from the MRI to the facility. And I said, if they don't shut me down, I'm retiring. I hope you're okay with that decision. And they did it before I did. And I was so thankful that they did, that they showed mercy, because it's really uncommon, because it's unclear, right? It's like, there's no studies, long-term studies on nerve damage in the neck. I had 300 stingers in my career. Nobody has any idea what happens when you have that many stingers. So if you don't know what a stinger is, basically your nerve gets pinched or pulled extremely hard. And what happens is, coming out of the cervical column here, like mine was C6, C7, it comes out of there and goes down through, and basically that's the neural pathways that are created, right? Those are your nerves that fire your whole body. And so when they get impinged, so I had bone spurs, I had bulging discs, I had stenosis of the spine. So I had like the trilogy.
So the sport's not hard on your body.
Sport is very hard on your body. The sport is very hard on your body. It doesn't make it not awesome, but it's extremely hard on your body. But and so they said, we don't have any studies, Nick, long-term. I can't, as a doctor in good conscience, send you back out there. And so
that is rare that they would do that, right?
Very rare, especially with something so unclear, right? So
plus it's about money too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause they were paying me. Yeah. I mean, I was making a good, healthy contract at that point.
Yeah.
And they were a good football team, and we wanted, that's why I came back. I wanted to win. I knew it was my last year under contract. I wanted to make one final run at a Super Bowl. I thought we had a team that was qualified to be able to do that.
And how old are you at this time?
I was 33.
33.
Yeah. And week one, after the long training camp, that just my neck, certain training camps, it was good, and certain training camps, it wasn't good. And when it wasn't good, it was going to be a long year. And this doctor, and thankfully decided, because it started to get progressively worse, right? It was like the lightest hit would send it off. And it was just, I mean, it feels like you got struck by lightning.
Right.
You know, I've had it before where I couldn't lift a gallon jug of milk out of the fridge.
And you're a pretty strong guy.
For months. For months in college, I had to use my left hand. I couldn't use my right. I couldn't bench 135 pounds with my right arm. It wouldn't move. Wouldn't do anything. The nerve wouldn't fire.
Right.
There was a roadblock in it somewhere. So it was just impinged.
And how do you feel now?
More or less fine. I just keep moving, you know?
Yeah.
I just keep moving. I would hate for somebody to come step into my body and having never worked up to this.
Yeah.
It would be extremely, I would imagine, painful if somebody were to be able to wake up in my body and go through a day in my body, having never done what I did and not having built up a pain tolerance. I don't think their life would be long.
Yeah. And no surgeries.
I had 11.
Okay, just no surgeries in the neck.
Yeah.
No surgeries in the neck.
No neck surgeries.
Okay.
Yeah, I had 11 surgeries. I had 2 on my right foot. I had 2 on my left ankle, 3 on my left knee, or 2 on my left knee, 1 on my right knee, 2 on my left elbow, and both shoulders.
So what's the fastest turnaround time after a surgery that you went back and played?
Oh, probably 2 weeks.
After a fucking surgery?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a meniscectomy as a rookie. So I tore my lateral meniscus in my left knee, which is the outside part of your knee. So it's like 2 little discs that are basically the cushions, and they kind of keep your bones from grinding on each other. I tore one. I had torn it as a high school wrestler, and then I re-tore it during my rookie year.
As a professional NFL player.
As a pro.
Just in case anyone missed the beginning of this show.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome in. Yeah. So I tore that.
And here's Nick Hardwick.
Yeah. And the cool thing about being in the league, and my buddy and I just had a conversation about this, like being a civilian, like we call ourselves civilians. I know that's probably wrong.
No,
the wrong vernacular or whatever. But it's like, you know, the problem being a civilian is you go to these freaking doctors and you can't get anything done. He's like, just give me a shot in my shoulder. You know, he's like, my shoulder hurts. Give me a shot in it, or give me some prednisone, or cut it out, or, you know, whatever it takes. Can we just do it tomorrow? And you go to the doctor and they're like, well, we're going to get an x-ray and we'll see you in 2 weeks, and we'll get an MRI. We'll see you in 2 weeks. It's like the very next day in the league, when the decision's made, you're having surgery, you're having it. Yeah. And we're not waiting. It's tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We'll see you there. Be there at 5:30. We'll go through the paperwork, get your IV started. Bam, you're done.
Don't eat after midnight.
You're done. Yeah. And the advice coming out of that surgery, of course, like every other surgery, is take it easy. It's going to feel better. You still got some of the numbing agent in there. Yeah. Got some of the anesthetic still running through your veins. So
start PT and
take it easy. Yeah. Let's ease into this. And I was like, I'm coming back for this game. I'm not missing a game. And I just dead serious. And they're like, let's see how it does. Let's see how it does, right? And so the very next day, I'm in there on Tuesday. It's our day off normally. And I'm in there doing PT. I felt so good. I was sprinting the stairs in the lobby. I was running sprints up and down the hallway. I couldn't feel anything. They were like, Nick, you got to calm down. I'm telling you, just trust me. You got to calm down. Get some ice on that thing. Relax, elevate it. We'll see you Wednesday. We'll see how it does. The next day I showed up and I couldn't move. It was like, give me the crutches. I can't do anything. So I got set back probably a week and a half, but I was back in 2 weeks.
Back in 2 weeks.
Yeah. But all the concussions I ever had, I never missed a game. I missed some practice, never missed a game. Probably reckless looking back, but I'm not missing a game.
Right.
If I can do it, well,
you're a yes guy. We talked about that earlier, right?
If I can do it, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's certain things.
No excuses.
There's certain things that are worth it, like for me, I'm just, you only get so many opportunities to play in those games.
Yeah.
And if you can play in them, you better play in them.
Right.
And I had missed enough already with some of the surgeries that I had that I was just unwilling to do more. Right. And if my body can do it, I know it's my brain. I know you can't replace your brain, but I'm going out there. It's too much fun. Right. And at some point it becomes like a drug. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
It's a drug.
Yeah, that dopamine's going through your brain.
Oh, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. And so as an athlete, I mean, I look at things much different than I did when I was playing. So a lot of times I have to put yourself back in your shoes, because now I'm removed 8 years and I'm a dad and I'm a little more cautious and all of those things. But when you look at it,
so what you coach what age group?
I coach 3rd and 5th grade.
Okay.
And I coach high school.
Okay. So the high school, so you clearly have a lot of spare time on your hands coaching. and you also have a podcast. We'll talk about that. And you also have a I said protein, but it's not a protein.
A supplement line.
Supplement line, which I want to talk about too.
Yeah.
So we got a lot to fit in here. But you're coaching high school kids. Are you looking at these kids as a dad coaching or a former NFL player? And I don't know if I'm articulating my question properly, but like, because you know what your body's been through, you know the pain that you've gone through, but you also know the reward that's happened to you because of your career, but also because of your hard work and what you've wanted to do.
Yes.
And you know when you got out of surgery and you said, I'm going back in that game. When you see these kids with this same, I'll say, mentality, are you like, hey, buddy, slow it down a little bit. You know, we need to take care of your body. Or are you like, slow it down a little bit. Get back in there. Slow it down a little bit.
You articulated that well. I think it's a really hard question to ask.
Yeah.
I think if it took me a while to get into coaching.
Right.
I am a coach though.
Right.
Like deep down, I am a coach.
Right.
And this is what I love to do is coach people. I don't care what we're doing. I'm coaching.
Right.
You know, my kids are like, settle down, coach.
Well, you're a leader.
I'm a leader and I need a team and I need to be on a team and I want to be led.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be led. And I also
good leaders can be led.
I'm not a number one.
Right.
You know, like you have to know your role too. I'm not a number one. I'm not a good number one. I'm a number two. So that's where I'm at.
Right.
But I'm really good at it. Like I'm your first sergeant.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be the general. That's not my gig.
Right on.
Like I'm more of the grunt.
Okay.
So if you would ask me a couple of years ago, like when you first get out of the league, you go through some weird things emotionally and mentally and physically. Your body's got to settle into a new frame, right? Emotionally, you're really hurt. You're heartbroken because you're leaving your team.
Yeah, that you've been.
That's what it's your dream. You're living your dream.
Yeah.
Right. You're living your dream. You're with your best friends every day. You travel with them. You go out to dinners with them.
Yeah.
You fight with them.
Yeah, everything. You do everything.
Like what could be better than that? There's nothing better than that. Right. And so when you leave, it's like, even if they give you a hero's farewell, which I got, which is super rare, even if you get all that, like you still don't get to go back in that locker room every day. No. You still don't get to grind with them. You're still not part of that mission and that goal.
Right.
So that's not what you get to do.
Yeah.
And it took me up until like this past maybe April to realize that emotion that was with me was heartbreak. I was heartbroken. For the first time in my life, I truly had my heart ripped out of my chest and stepped on.
Right.
And it crushed me. And I actually was suicidal. Like when I left the game, I was suicidal. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. So I used to never tell anybody, but I'm like, share that shit.
Yeah. Share that shit.
You got to get it. Like it has to be out there.
So who helped you?
My wife.
Okay.
My wife did.
And we talked about her earlier. She's an absolute rock star.
She's a stud and she's no bullshit.
Yeah.
And,
I think you were referencing she's a yes person.
Yeah, she loves experiences.
Yeah, she likes to make it happen.
Yeah, but she's also very direct.
There to help you.
She's super direct.
Right.
She's honest. She calls it how it is. She's not afraid to speak up. She's got an indomitable will, right? So all those, and so I go to her, and maybe if I had a weaker woman by my side, then I would have, who knows what would have happened to our family.
Right.
But I was, had this great career, had a retirement press conference, had a job. I was working at the radio station. I quit it. Like 2 months into it, I quit. And I called my boss and I called my co-host and I said, I'm not coming in Monday and I don't know if I'm ever coming in again. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I just started I hung up and I just started melting down. I went to my wife and I was like, I just quit the radio. Look, I don't know what's going wrong with me. And I just didn't know my worth. I didn't know my identity. I didn't know my passion. I didn't have a purpose. Like other than being on the radio, which is super slow work and there's no adrenaline, no dopamine. You're never in flow, right?
Because you're going from legitimately the hardest physical sport that could arguably say that your body's being abused, but you love it. You love and live it.
Love it.
To, like you said, now you're in a radio room.
I'm in a booth. I felt like a caged animal.
Yeah.
It's like, so I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to leave you everything but $1 million. And I'm going to take that money and I'm going to Nicaragua. I'd never been to Nicaragua. I don't know why I said Nicaragua. I don't know what the hell happens in Nicaragua, but I was going there, but it was basically like telling her I'm going to go kill myself.
Right.
And she looked at me and she had our baby, our youngest in her arm, Teddy. And she goes, I ain't going anywhere, buddy. She's like, you got to stick around and help me out with these kids. She's like, we're going to figure out what's going on with you and we're going to get it sorted out.
Right.
and then we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
She's like, you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine. So, but you're not leaving.
And
you're certainly not going to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And you're not leaving me with 2 kids under 3 and checking out of this thing. She's like, that's not happening.
Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So I'm super thankful that that was the case, but yeah, I don't know how we got onto that, but,
I don't know, but it was good though.
I
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, retirement happened, that happened. And then like health became my mission, right? It was like, I was doing sports, but I got called out by Tony Kornheiser, pardon the interruption. And I'm sitting there and I'm super.
That's the name of the show.
Pardon the interruption.
Yeah. And so they said that you were on steroids, right?
Yeah. Tony basically, like a real kind of sly line was like another example of an offensive lineman being overstuffed like a Purdue chicken. Right. So the Purdue Chicken Company. Yeah. I went to Purdue. So I was like, well, wow, very smart line, Tony.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you did there, asshole. Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking dick.
And so I looked at Jayme and I was like, I'm going to get on Twitter. I'm going to blast back at him right now. And she's like, please don't. And I was like, all right. So what are we going to do? And she's like, well, you're going to launch an Instagram page and you're going to basically show everybody how you lost weight. So it's not a mystery. So just show them everyday things that you're doing that have helped you lose weight and are helping you keep it off.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really smart. And then that kind of became my thing for a long time.
Yeah, your new mission.
How'd you lose the weight? And so I was doing sports talk radio. I was doing all the stuff for the Chargers, but at the same time, I was learning more about nutrition. I was helping people out. I was answering questions. COVID hit, and I finally had time to sit down and write down my plan. Like, this is how I lost 85 pounds in 5 months. Because
in 5 months.
In 5 months. Because I kept getting...
You hear that, Justin?
I kept getting asked how I did it. How'd you do it, Nick?
Yeah.
How'd you do it? It's like, I got tired of sending DMs and emails and text messages that were like 5 pages long. So eventually COVID hits, we moved back to Indiana and I've got nothing but time on my hands. So I just wrote a book, I guess. It was a 160 page ebook and had the diet plan in there, had the workout plan in there, and had kind of my methodology and things I had learned from doing my podcast that I was like, trying to find how to restore the brain, how to restore the body, and how to kind of it was called Finding Center was the name of that podcast.
Right.
And it was like,
that's the one I remember. Yeah.
How do I find balance? I was trying to figure out how to find balance in life, going from such a high.
Because there's no secret to lose 85 pounds. Well, I mean,
there's not.
It's not a secret. You have to be committed.
Yep.
And you have to stick with your plan.
Yep. Yeah. Right? And I could do the math on it, but it's 3,500 calories per pound times 85. So 297,500 calories of a deficit roughly that you have to create. So that's the secret right there. Yeah. So if you're willing to look at that number, like 300,000 calories in a deficit that you have to create, and you're willing to do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to be committed.
Yeah. And like the plan that I came up with, it was, through people that I had talked to or books that I had read and all these things. And I just kind of made them all come together and had my own little plan and it worked. And
now people
do it.
Yeah. So you have the plan. It's lineman.
I have Lose Like a Lineman.
And then you also,
which was the OG. And now I do a one-on-one coaching because a lot of people came out of that program. They matriculated out of that. Like they lost their weight and they're like, now what, Nick?
Right.
I'm like, all right, well, here's another one. So this is one-on-one coaching and
and you do that. You can do that virtually, right?
Virtual, yeah.
So anyone listening to this from California or Alaska,
wherever,
can reach out to you and be like, I want to do this.
Yeah. Trainlikealignment.com.
Trainlikealignment.com.
That's me.
I will say that on the bottom of the screen.
Train Like a Lineman.
I did that, Justin. Train Like a Lineman.
Yeah. Or just reach out to me at Nick Hardwick. So I answer every DM that comes in my Instagram.
Right.
I'm terrible at Facebook because I was out of college by the time Facebook started. I'm terrible. I might as well be a geriatric on that thing. So I just can't do it.
So what's the plan consist of if someone wants to lose, so let's say they don't need to lose 85 pounds or they want to lose 20 pounds.
And that's mostly what I deal with now. Like there are people that come in that want to lose huge weight.
Right.
And for me, that's a completely different approach than somebody who wants to lose 20 pounds and wants to keep it off.
Right.
Right. So if you want to lose huge weight, I know there's a lot of studies that say lose it slow is better.
Right.
But for big weight loss, it's actually not. Like you want to lose more weight faster.
Right.
Because think if you have to lose 100 pounds and you're losing half a pound a week, I've got to wait 200 weeks, 4 years to get my weight off. Nobody's that patient. No, you're not that patient. And when you're eating, to be really big, you have to be eating 4,000, 4,500 calories a day.
Right.
Right. So it's easy to come down, and you're not going to be deficient in anything if you're eating 2,000 calories a day. And you're eating to feed the normal size human that lives inside of you. Right. So you're just paring off the fat. So like the theory would be, it's like you've got this skinny dude that lives inside of a big body. Right. Let's let the big body just melt itself away and feed only what we need to feed.
Right. And you have a program for women too.
Program for women. Yeah. Program for men.
What about kids?
I coach men and women. I don't coach kids. Mostly I would love to. Like that's a thing that I'm really concerned, I guess, about it. Yeah. I'm really concerned about it. Like I was just reading an article last night, and 25% of the population from ages like 6 to 12 are obese. Yeah. Not overweight, obese. 25%. And from 12 to 20, it's the same. It's like 23.6% or something.
I will have to say though, you're drinking a Coca-Cola. I know someone's gonna send me a message and say this guy's talking this game and he's drinking a Coca-Cola.
Diet Coke. Zero calories.
Zero calories.
Zero calories. Yeah. So people get it twisted, right? So you go to people's house who are trying to lose weight and you see them drinking a regular Coke, and I'm like, you're wasting calories. I would never say anything. I never say anything to anybody, but if somebody's like, hey, I'm trying to lose weight, what are you drinking? Liquid calories. Right. It's like beer, alcohol. Yeah. Right. Those are 150 calories a pop.
Yeah. I enjoy both of those.
Yeah. Coca-Cola. Now throw a Coca-Cola into a Jack, right? Yeah. Now we've added an additional 150 calories. Right. And that to me is like, so non-nutritive sweetener is what's in Diet Coke. Right. Right. Aspartame or sucralose is some of them, or stevia or whatever. Right. And people are like, the artificial sweeteners are bad for your health. Yeah. No, they're not. It's been proven time and again. Like there's plenty of meta-analysis studies that have come back that's like, it's not harmful. Right. So stop.
I believe you.
And the Coca-Cola is not better for you than Diet Coke is. You're consuming calories that do nothing for you. Right. There's zero nutrition in there. Right. So I like a Diet Coke on occasion. Yeah.
It's everything in moderation, right?
That's life.
That's life.
Like, right? That's life. Like,
I don't drink soda. I drink club soda, like in vodka.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But with a lime. Yeah, with a lime. But I don't drink like Coca-Cola or any of your, in the Midwest they say pop or
pop. I call them all Coke.
Yeah. Yeah.
My kids are like, Dad, it's not all Coke. Yeah. I'm glad you brought up that point, right? Everything in moderation. Everything's fine in moderation. Right. So what happens when a lot of people come into my program or that I coach or just talk to? They come with this mindset of, what do I have to stop doing? What do I need to stop eating? Right. What do I have to do? Right. It's like all these, like, you have to do these things and these things and these things. It's like the restrictive mindset is restrictive. Yeah. Right. So if I come in.
Well, that's how most people fail.
That's why most people fail.
Right.
Yeah. Because of the restrictive mindset. It's this all or nothing principle that exists where I'm either eating clean or I'm eating unclean, right? I'm doing good or I'm doing bad, right? It's like that whole thing that will fail you. Yeah. That will fail you more often than not, because, hey, most of us aren't David Goggins. Right. Most of us can't wake up.
Boy, that guy can fucking run, huh?
He can run. He can run. But I promise you, if you try to live like David Goggins and you've come from a sedentary lifestyle and you're 60 pounds overweight,
you're going to die.
You're going to hurt yourself and you're going to be frustrated because you don't have that work capacity that he has. Yeah. You haven't built your entire life up to this point to go hard, right? To do like that mindset to me is so stupid. Yeah. Like balance, moderation, live a normal fucking life, right? Yeah. Like wake up, move, see the sun, get off your freaking phone, eat normal foods. The foods we ate as kids, other than if you were eating like a Salisbury steak TV dinner, right? Like the meat and the potatoes and the veggies. Yeah. Add more veggies in there.
Add more veggies.
Like the rice is fine.
Eat another salad.
The pasta,
okay.
The pasta's fine. Like people are crazy. People are like, you can't have that. Yeah. It's like you gain fat if you eat carbs. Yeah. And it's like, look at me. Look at me. Yeah. I eat carbs every day. Like you can't do this. You can't do that. It's like, Okay, keep telling yourself that, because when you're saying, I can't have bread, I can't have this, I can't have that, all your brain is doing is reinforcing that you want that.
Right.
Right. But when you say, I can have that, however, I'm choosing not to have that, now I'm increasing my willpower.
Right.
Right. And that's real. Like, increasing willpower is real. So yes, I can have anything I want to have. However, I'm choosing not to have that right now.
Right.
You know, I'm going to make that choice in my life. I'm going to choose something on the continuum or the spectrum, whatever you want to call it, of health that's a little bit further down the line towards the optimal.
Yeah.
Right. But like, you know, can you have a milkshake? Yes, you can have a milkshake.
Yeah, just don't have one every day.
You know, we conflate, like, what happens, I think, in this whole nutrition world is, one, people are out to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Right. So you got marketers that are coming in. It's like the keto diet. Let me create a problem. You aren't meant to eat carbs. Like, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Your body is meant to. Your brain needs it. It's going to produce it whether you eat it or not. You know, like, if you don't eat carbs, your body's going to eat your muscle to create carbs in your liver. It's just what happens. It's called gluconeogenesis. It will do it with muscle. It'll do it with fat. It'll create its own gluconeogenesis.
Now, you just got, what was the certification you just did?
Certified strength and conditioning specialist.
Did you learn a lot of this stuff in that, or no?
No, that's more athletic performance type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like different. This is different.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, people that are like, I'm not going to have carbs, like, well, your body's going to make carbs anyway.
Right.
It's going to happen. Yeah. So there's so many things like that where people are like, if I just cut this out, everything's going to be fine. If I just cut this out, and that does work for a lot of people for a little bit of time, because it's very easy. You're making an easy decision-making corridor. Right. Instead of teaching somebody how to listen to their body, how to fuel their body properly.
Yeah. Everybody's different.
Yes. Yeah. Some people are better carb burners. Some people are better fat burners.
Yeah.
Right. Some people can restrict for infinite amounts of times and be fine with it. But some people, when they restrict for 4 weeks, that 5th week, by God, they're going in on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
well, I think that's the problem with a lot of, like, we'll call them yo-yo diets, right? Someone's like, I'm going to quit doing this. I'm going to quit doing this. I'm going to be really strict for the next 30 days. Mm-hmm. And then they lose, their 15 pounds or whatever their almost goal was. They're all excited. Their 30-day challenge is up. And then they go and fill themselves with garbage.
Yeah.
Fill themselves with garbage. And then a month later, they've gained all that weight back plus some, and they can't figure it out.
I need to get back on it.
Yeah.
Right. I need to get back on it. So here's a really interesting thing is, like, when people say, I want to lose weight, right? I want to lose weight. What do I got to do? I got to run, got to get on the treadmill, got a Peloton. Yeah. It's like, yes, you do want to do some cardio. That's true. You want to get your activity up. You want to have a strong heart. Cardio, as we say it, is really good for the brain. Also, it just continues to pump fresh blood and oxygen. Right. Those long interval, steady state type long walks, long runs, those are really good for you. However, they're not great for your body composition. So yes, they burn calories, which overall is the name of the game. You have to burn more calories than you're consuming if you want to lose weight. Right. However, you go too long and you're carb restricted. Now your body's going to start eating some of your muscle. Right. And it's going to do that anyway as you're doing cardio, just because it's adaptive. Right. And muscle is very expensive from an oxygen standpoint. So if I can shrink down, then we're going to be a more efficient mover on the long term, right? Like on the long haul. But if you let all your muscle go, then I don't have anywhere when I get down to the weight that I want to be. If I let it all go, I have a slower metabolism because muscle burns more calories per day than, like, having more muscle burns more calories than having less muscle. Yeah. Right. Right. Like, fat doesn't burn calories. Right. Right. It's fuel. It's not the engine. Yeah. Yeah. You also lose storage capacity. So when you do start having carbs, and I say when you do, because you're going to, right? Like, you're going to, like, Joe Rogan's gone carnivore, Paul Saladino diet, right? Like that whole thing. Well, guess what? They got sick of having just meat. And so now they're having fruits and they're having honey, right? Yeah. It's like, it's coming back. It's just a matter of when. Right. Right. So when you start eating carbohydrates, if you've lost all your muscle, you've lost storage capacity for the carbohydrates because the carbs are stored in the muscle and in the liver. You want that to be a really robust storage system because now I don't have to store it as fat, as body fat. Right. So, it's like, what? I want to lose weight. What do I got to do? Got to do this, got to do that, got to do that. It's like, actually, you want to do as little as possible to make the needle move and get you the max impact. Because as you lose weight, the margins between what you burn on a daily basis and what we can like actually restrict your eating to, your consumption to, become really tight.
So when you train people, are you giving them a diet plan too?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one funny thing, right? People come into a program. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do that. I want to do this. Like, sign me up for 6 days a week. I want to be at the gym 6 days a week. And I'm like, okay, we're going to start with 3 days a week. And I want to start at 30 minutes. And I want you to slow down a little bit, right? Because I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that. Here's the key to losing weight or getting the body that you want. What are you willing to sacrifice, right? So we can have great goals up top. I'm able to do this and I'm willing to do this. Cool. Right. That's really good. You have to be willing to take action to make progress on your goals.
Right.
Just as important as what you're willing to do is what you're willing to sacrifice.
Right.
Because that's the anchor below the boat, what I'm willing to sacrifice. So the more that I'm willing to sacrifice, the easier that boat's going to go.
Now, do you think this mentality for you was after the NFL? Do you think it was also during the NFL, or has this been your mentality just in life, just growing up? Like,
just always learning.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's my mentality.
Right.
It's just always learn and grow and change and try new things out and see if they work. And,
right.
Like sit with it for a while,
right.
Like marinate and think about it for a while and then
try. If it doesn't work, don't do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always like really into learning and certifications. And like, I got invited to do a NFL transition coach certification.
Okay.
And that was a year-long program where I got certified as a coach that helps players transition out of the game.
Oh, okay.
Super cool.
Very cool.
Super cool that I get to help, but mostly super cool that I got to learn for a year from the best clinical psychologist in the game. So all these football teams now have clinicians on staff.
Okay.
And they taught classes every week to 15 of us. They taught us, they certified us in how to listen, how to be an empathetic leader. What are you listening for? Are you listening for what they're saying? Or are you listening for their values? Are you listening for their feelings, right? Like those kind of things. So super powerful stuff. I got mental health first aid trained going through that. I got assist. It's applied suicide intervention skills training. So that was like a 3-day deal.
It's a long acronym.
It's a long acronym, but it was a 3-day deal. So like, if somebody were on a bridge somewhere and there's a cop and he's not assist certified, like I'm the guy.
Yeah.
So if I'm there, I'm the guy that gets to help talk to this person.
Yeah.
Right. So super
literally
cool.
talk them off the ledge.
Talk them off the ledge. So super cool. So all of that training and like just always consuming. I'm just always consuming information from trusted resources and doctors and, people that I know aren't, because like you got to be careful listening in the nutrition world and the sports performance world. You got to be careful. There's a lot of kooks out there.
There's a lot of kooks out there.
Yeah.
There's
right.
A lot of kooks
I mean, it's not, it's,
what's the average career of an NFL player?
I think it's like 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah. And it may be up now.
Yeah.
It may be staying a little bit longer. They know more. They know how to take care of their body. So I wish I knew then what I know now.
The players know more, and then the coaches and the teams know more.
Both.
But that's, both.
Right? And they're educating.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to spend time with the director of performance for the Colts. His name's Rusty Jones. I got to spend 4 hours with him and go through all the information that they gather on the guys, the plans that they put together for them. The guys order their food on an app through their cafeteria that's ready for them when they want it, but it's based on their macronutrient and caloric assignment.
It's a business
that they've given them. Yeah.
At the end of the day, they want the athlete to be the most physically fit and healthy so that individual can perform.
Yeah.
Because if that individual's having surgeries or
pulling muscles, things you can control through diet.
Yeah.
Through diet or through rest or through they help them with their sleep patterns based on where they're playing. So if they're going to the West Coast, they're changing it up. If they're playing a 8:00 start East Coast time, they're changing their sleep patterns. They're changing their practice times. All these things that science now can tell us, lead us in the right direction and give us a plan. they're one of I would say they're probably one of the leading teams doing that now, because it takes a lot of resources to be
money
willing to do that, and to have you can know what to do, but if you don't have the people that can help support that plan or provide that plan, then it doesn't mean anything.
So what made you want to get into the supplement business, I'll call it? I don't know how.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's basically like.
And how are you doing on time?
Oh, we're fine.
Okay, perfect.
We're fine.
Yeah, let's talk about supplements.
Yeah, so I got into that basically as I was doing the Finding Center podcast. One of my things that I would always ask is like, what can I do? What can I take to help my brain, to help my body? How can I get leaner? How can I build more muscle? All those kind of things, right? And so for me, that kind of just spurred, well, if I'm going to recommend anything to anybody, one, I should probably just sell it,
Yeah, right.
And two, make sure it's of the highest quality.
Right.
So it's pharmaceutical grade. What's in the product is 99% verified.
What's in it's supposed to be in it.
Yeah, because it has that classification as pharmaceutical grade. It has to be. It's provided by doctors, so it's the same. Like we white label the same stuff that doctors provide their patients.
Okay.
So it's incredible quality, which was super important to me. And then it's all the things that initially I designed this basically for a football player.
Right.
Like, hey, football guys, this is what you should be taking now when you're playing and when you're done.
Right.
Right. Because there's certain things that all these universal that everyone kept telling me you need to take to restore your brain. Because that was my biggest concern.
Right.
30,000 hits to the head. Right. I was concerned about my brain.
It's a big number, man.
Right. Rightfully.
Big number.
Rightfully. Right. It's a big
number.
It's a huge number. It really is. So what are some things that I should be taking? Well, fish oil for sure.
Right.
Right. Zinc, vitamin D, magnesium's a huge one. Magnesium L3 and 8 is a big one. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and helps hippocampus size, which is like your memory center in the brain. Creatine should be one of them that almost every human should be taking. I can't stress that enough. Like, get on the creatine monohydrate 3 to 5 milligrams a day. Just do it. Just do it.
Say it again.
3 to 5 grams a day.
So say that last sentence again so everyone can hear that again. Everyone should be doing this.
Everyone should be doing it. Yeah, my boys do this. They're 8 and 10 years old. It's perfectly safe. There's been more clinical studies done on creatine, I think, than any other supplement, maybe besides protein.
So I went down to Panama a little while ago, because I'm not sure when this is going to air, so I won't say the date. But, and I did stem cell treatment for my shoulders. And so I did an IV for 3 days, an hour each day. So I wasn't on an IV for 3 days. And then I got 3 shots in my right shoulder and 4 in my left shoulder. I couldn't lift plates above my head. Torn labrum.
Like a dinner plate.
Dinner plate, yeah. Torn labrum, torn rotator cuffs from my time in the military and then playing sports and just excessively abusing my body. Yeah. Not like the NFL, just to be very clear.
No, but still.
But so anyway, I'm supposed to have surgery, go do the surgery. This is 80% chance it's going to be okay. You're going to get back to 80% chance you'll get back to like better mobility. And I'm like, those aren't good odds.
Man, I don't like just better mobility. No, that's all we're talking about here?
Yeah, better mobility. That's all we're talking about. That's it. Nothing else, right? So fast forward, I go down there, and right now I have 100% better mobility.
Nice.
More than I've ever had. My strength is better than it's ever been let me rephrase that. I'm not lifting heavy weights strength, but I'm also able to do things that I wasn't able to do because of the pain I was in.
Yes.
And I'm in no pain.
Good. Most importantly, you're in no pain.
I'm in no pain.
I
wake up in the morning in no pain.
Good.
I would normally wake up limping to the bathroom.
Yeah. Hurts
to brush my teeth, wash my hair. I would be in pain. And I would try to explain it to people, and they don't understand because they don't have that same pain. And they're like, well, you're not in pain all the time. I'm like, yeah, it's all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Pervasive. Yeah. And
so there's a supplement, and I can't think of the name of it that I got down there. It's a stem cell supplement. I'll show you before you leave.
Cool.
But it's all natural stuff that's in it. And so I take 2 of those a day, and I take some other stuff too.
Yeah.
But the point of the story is you mentioned fish oil and some other things. And so I was talking to my doctor, and my doctor in Panama, not the doctor in the US. And she was super nice. And I was like, these are the supplements I take. And she's like, well, are you eating these foods?
Right.
And I go, well, not really. She's like, well, if you ate more of these foods, you could get rid of some of this. She goes, but if you know you're not going to eat these, then take this.
Yes.
But like, for example, fish oil. She's like, how much fish do you eat? Of course, in Panama, they eat a lot of fish. And I was like, well, I don't eat as much fish as I should. She goes, well, then take fish oil.
Yep.
And she goes, but you can also eat a lot more fish.
Just eat fish.
Just eat fish.
Yeah.
And salads. She's like, how many salads do you have a day? I go, a day? She's like, well, you have lunch and dinner. She's like, obviously you're not having salad for breakfast, but do you have a small salad or the salad as your meal? And I said, no. She goes, maybe once a week do that. And then try to do it twice a week.
Yeah.
And my wife's a vegetarian.
She's a good doctor.
Yeah, she's a really good doctor.
Yeah, because she's meeting you where you're at.
Yes.
Right. And that's the key. The key to doctoring and coaching and all the things is I can't give you my plan. Like I can't tell you to start where I'm at right now. Like here's what I do, because that won't work for you. That'll fail you.
Yeah.
Like extremely. Like we said, you can't start where David Goggins is starting. No. It's not going to work for you.
Yeah, my wife's a vegetarian. I tried every once in a while. I do these little challenges with her.
Yeah, cool.
She's an everyday GSD person across the board. So like I'll go, I'll be a vegetarian for a month. I feel like shit
being a vegetarian.
Yeah, because that's. But I get how people feel great doing it.
Yes,
but it's my body needs more. And she's so
and
funny.
part of it could just be a personal preference, right?
Correct.
Like how do you feel on it? How do you perform on it? How do you feel on it?
There's times where I need a chicken breast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because my mind says because I want that protein.
Yes.
And people are like, well, you can feel the protein going in.
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can.
For me, I do.
If you listen.
Yeah.
If you listen, you can. I think I feel them all different.
Yeah.
I eat every kind of protein there is.
Yeah.
I do. I have every single day, I have a scoop of vegan protein powder.
Yeah.
It just so happens that I mix it with dairy, but
yeah.
I have it. And a lot of reason that I have it is because it's got so many good things in it that fill voids in the nutritional needs of the day, right? So everything's got its big pluses and minuses.
I told the doctor what protein I take, and then I told her I use it with almond milk. She goes, what? She goes, you're using an animal product into it. I go, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. She's like, well, maybe you should, just keep doing that.
Okay, because in her head, right, she's like, well, no, that's vegan and that's this.
Right.
But why do we have to label them?
Right.
Like, so I can have a vegan protein and I can have it with milk, or I can have it with Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't need to label it.
I might throw a scoop of peanut butter in there.
Yeah. It's just what's in it.
Yeah.
Right. It's just what's in it ultimately. Yeah. And so like, you don't feel good on a vegan diet. I've done it too. I felt good for a month and I felt terrible after that.
I feel like at first I felt good.
Yeah. I felt weak.
Yeah.
I felt like really,
I feel malnutrition.
I felt thin. Yeah. I just felt like I didn't feel like if shit hit the fan that I could really hold my own.
Right.
Right. So like that, I don't know why that always comes back to me. It's
it's important.
Man, I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
It's like, you're probably not going to get your ass kicked. Nobody wants to fight a 40-year-old man anyway.
And you're a pretty good sized guy. I don't think people.
Yeah, but that's like, I didn't in general like how I felt. And does it work for people? Does it help control people's weight? I think mostly that's aside from like moral issues and ethical issues of eating animal products. Cool. Get that. Environmental issues. Cool. Get that. But I mean, the science will tell you like, there's nothing wrong with eating meat.
Right.
So people who say that meat's bad for you.
So my wife doesn't eat meat because she loves animals. Nothing to do with. Yeah, that's literally, she'll tell you. Because people be like, oh, do you don't eat it because meat's bad for you? And then she's like, nah, I just don't eat it because I like animals.
Yeah.
Straight up. She doesn't eat fish because she's like, I don't want to eat fish.
Yeah, most people don't care about fish.
Yeah. She don't eat fish. Her thing is if it's got a face, she won't eat it.
That's fine.
I'm like, okay.
I feel like that's the funniest thing ever is somebody's not going to eat certain animals, but they're like, it's just a fish.
Yeah, it's just a fish.
It's just a fish. Like, why do you draw the line to the fish? Look how beautiful it is.
Yeah. So you eat sushi, but you won't eat that burger.
So the problem's not with the meat. The problem is the lack of eating plants. Right. So that's the either or, that's that all or nothing. It's like, oh, I'm a carnivore, I'm a vegan. It's like, have everything.
Yeah.
Have it all.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll feel better.
Yeah.
And you won't be restricted. And you're not going to be that person when you're out at the party that's like, no, I can't do that. Like, you don't have to be like that.
And have everything in moderation.
That's life. So much goes into like, we all want to live to be really old. And, we study the blue zones and all of these things. And how many of those people look like Arnold in his prime that live to be 106 that are either Seventh-day Adventists or they're over in Okinawa or, all those blue zones that they study.
Yeah.
They look like normal people.
Yeah.
They probably carry a little bit extra body fat.
Right.
They're not muscular, really. Like they work, they wash their dishes, they wash their clothes by hand. Most of the time they like the Seventh-day Adventist out in LA, like they exercise regularly. It's a big part of their deal. And
but my problem was I have to control myself. I want to lift heavy weights, but I know it's not good. I know it's not good. But sometimes I just have to. Yeah. Because I just have to go.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah. It's a decision to make, right?
And I'm like, you know what? It's not necessarily my muscles that are sore, it's my joints that are sore. And there's good sore and there's pain.
Yes.
And but since I got the stem cell, I've been really conscious of not lifting heavy. Yeah. And trying to listen to my Panamanian doctor.
You don't have to.
Yeah. And,
to get what you want, you don't have to. There's for muscle growth. And by the way, at our age, muscle growth is like so limited.
Yeah, it's not happening.
You're swimming upstream. It's it's not really happening. Like you could fight hard to preserve it. Yeah. But there's such a range for muscle growth and muscle stimulation that you could go anywhere from like 5 or 6 reps all the way up to 30. Yeah. And get what you need. So hey, if my joints hurt, don't throw the heavy load on there. Yeah. Lighten it up and work the muscles. And it's not about the weight anyway. It's about the load. Yeah. Right. So it's about creating a muscular, not advantage so I can lift more weight, but a muscular disadvantage by lengthening my limb or making it at a different angle and using proper weight and proper technique and speed to make that muscle feel the load, not the weight. It's not the weight.
Yeah. You had a doctor on your other podcast, and I think he was a doctor at the beginning of COVID. I remember watching it.
What did we talk about?
It was just resistance. It was a resistance workout. That
John Jakish. Yeah, the X3 bar.
Yeah, the X3 bar. It was interesting because I was like, yeah, it makes sense.
John got so mad at me. He got so mad at me because he's like, because I would post a lot of pictures about the bar and lifting with the bar and training with it and everything. But I don't stay on script very well. Yeah. And so like he's got this plan and I'm like, well, no, this is a toy. Yeah. And I'm playing with the toy. Yeah. And it is like however I see fit. And he's like, you can't be doing that. You can't be showing people that. They're going to break their voice. They're going to do this. I think he was probably worried about getting sued or whatever. Right. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to just sit here and get barraged by you, like get mad at me for the way that I train. He's like, you're not doing that right. Watch the videos. And I was like,
well, clearly you're doing something.
I was like, buzz off, dude. I've been training for 25 years. Yeah. I've had no major injuries lifting weights or training. I'm playing in here. Yeah, so does it look like the correct form? Maybe not to you, but I'm working on something.
But I'm working on something.
I'm working on something. Like, you don't know what I'm working on. Like I will never comment on somebody in a weight room doing something unless it looks like they're going to get hurt.
Unless they're going to get hurt.
You don't know what they're doing. Right. You don't know what they're training. Like, people post videos on Instagram all the time of other people doing dumb things. I'm like, you don't know what they're doing. Yeah. You don't know what their plan is. Like you're out of context. Right. Yeah. And they didn't ask you to coach them anyway.
Yeah. And you're not their fucking coach.
So get off of it.
Okay. So how do people find your supplements? How do they listen to your podcast?
Just follow me on Instagram at Nick Hardwick.
That's easy.
That's the easiest. Nick. Everything's right there. You can get in touch with me. I promise you, if you DM me, I will get back to you. I promise you.
That's awesome. Listen, I got a little gift for you. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Clearly, you are a true everyday GSD guy. Yeah. I got a hat for you, everyday GSD hat.
I dig that.
And then also have a everyday GSD shirt for you in the G.I. Joe green, red, white, and blue.
These are awesome.
Thank you. And
you're telling everybody where to get these? Where do we get them?
You can get them on DarinBibeau.com. DarinBibeau.com.
There we are.
There we are. Hey, brother, I appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, this bigger table. This is a bigger table.
See, now you're gonna have to come up with.
I gotta tell a story in the next episode.
End of show handshake.
Exactly. Be like elbows. But hey, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Darin.
And hopefully I can get your wife maybe on the show because I think she fits right into the program.
She's way better than I am.
All right, guys. Have a good one.